National Bureau of Statistics report released recently, which did indicate the consumer price index shooting from 10.3% to 12.6%. Inflation rate, the report says just climbing. I know there are those who have different perspectives on this matter, and that's what we're focusing on this morning. We're joined by Mr. Eddie Osarenkhoe, who is the immediate past president of Finance Houses Association of Nigeria. Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Well, straight away I know that because the reasons that they gave as a result, the reason they gave for this rise in inflation rate, they say the partial removal of fuel subsidy. And I remember at the time there were all kinds of arguments making the rounds at that time. Even we had spoken to the CBN, he gave his perspective, but now we have this in our face. Any surprise on this at all?
I am not actually surprised because if you've been around, you expect this, especially. You recall when the telecom thing happened, the whole thing went up, but now it's down. I believe strongly that those things are immediate reaction to the the removal of subsidy. I think subsidy has been done partially, and so you expect that all that the way people react in this country, definitely you expect that immediate jump. But it's even good. It's consoling to see that it's not as high as people really speculated, because at the point people were even speculating 200% or whatever. But I think I'm one person who has a lot of confidence in this economy, because I believe in that very well, because we have population and the market is the population. And if you are a follower of those who really want to do business in this country, take for example the shop right at the Keja, for example. If you go in there and see the concept those people are adopting, those are people who are ready to do business on a sustainable basis. That is because they understand the market, they know the population is here, they know we have need for some of those things, and you see they live on margin. And see the crowd that goes in there, that shows that there's a lot for this country. So to that extent, I'm not actually perturbed by the seemingly inflation rate that went up, because we all expected it, that because there was this rise in price, you expect that. I'm a believer of total removal of subsidy. Maybe I should start with that, because we have something very good in our hand, but over the time we've been so spoiled, and to the extent that we take crude from ground, sell it and share money. That is not how an economy is supposed to be raised. We've been gifted with things that should further create wealth in this country. There's need for value addition, and when you create value, and you look at your value chain analysis, you create a lot of productivity and people create job. You expect that you don't just take crude, sell, and that's what actually is responsible for corruption in this country. So if you want to really nip corruption on the board, those are the areas we need to really look at. So I'm very happy if you listen to the petroleum subsidy probe, you will see a lot of what I'm talking about now. Those are things that we need to take up in this country.
I don't want to deviate from the inflation price inflation price rise, but if you look, if you tie it to deregulation, you said you're strong supporter of fuel subsidy removal because you believe that it will encourage production locally
and growth in the economy.
But what we've seen over time is that people still prefer to import. It is easier to import. You don't tie down your capital. And there is no guarantee that because subsidy is removed, that would automatically lead to production locally.
No. Where people like to import now is just at the beginning. But let me look at it. If you believe in sustainability, you look at the long-term effect. I believe in the big picture. If you look at strategy, you will see the need to look at where are you going to go if actually the subsidy is removed. So those who see beyond just today will reap from benefit of what MTN did in this country. If you move towards having refineries in this country early now, what I'm saying therefore is that if you take the crude and add value and processes, who says you can't take over the West African market? Who says you continue to run taking care of just taking crude and sharing within the country? I am saying we are blessed with a resource that will make us dominate Africa. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you are those who believe in long-term and strategy and looking at the big picture, you will see that we have for a long time missed what God gave us to be able to dominate Africa.
The question is, how many businessmen think in that direction?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's the error of the environment because of the fact that we'll be spoiled. Those businessmen you're talking about now, look at the shorting, look at the government plan, and look at the banking around the environment. They create money for 90 days thing, and they just go to trade and recycle the money and make a profit. I am talking about sustainability. That's what I said. If you're looking at the bigger picture, if you have a government that is coming out with a framework that can guarantee stability, you will see a lot of people coming. I'll tell you, I'm a finance man. For about 2-3 months, we'll be having calls from America on that, trying to seek investment in refinery in this country. And because they know some of us have been involved in some of these things, they've been talking to us. We didn't get that about 4 months before now. So what we are saying, therefore, we're looking at if you have put in place structural thing that makes people believe in you that yes, because like I said, I started by saying that the market is here. We have the population. We also know that thing has been grossly underpriced if you look at everything around us. So there's no way it can be sustained for a long time. So what I'm saying, the point I'm taking is from there. If you're looking at sustainable growth and looking at how do you take advantage of not even Nigerian market, take advantage of people are market around you, then you will look at the need to see, let's take the bull by the horn and see what we can do now. And more so, if you even look at we have a lot of graduate engineers who are they are unemployed. So all those are things I think the government should be able to look at and harness. How do you really take care of this thing that God has given us?
Okay, let's look at the question of attitude. You're talking about sustainable development, so to speak. Now, over time, with all the resources that Nigeria has had, has there been any evidence of thinking sustainability in the area of infrastructural development? For instance, you're going ahead to remove the fuel subsidy completely. Is that the basic infrastructure to run?
I agree with you totally. If infrastructural development talked about even like we see it, budgeting annually and stuff like that really do not really encourage the kind of growth you're talking about. But come to think of it, we also saw the approach adopted, which a lot of people quarrel about, which was right not too palatable. That would lead to the whole uproar. But whatever it is, for once, people sat down and saw a major challenge facing this country. And for the infrastructural thing, we will continue to dance around it if we do not tackle it. I'm very happy that all those things happened and a lot of people kept talking and government saw the need for that. What you just said is very fine. You need a lot of money for infrastructural thing. My take in what you just said, actually, it wouldn't have been wrong after all if the government had actually gone even at borrowing to do major infrastructure before coming out with those things that they came out with, because you just going to make money after all. And you're going to create wealth, you're going to create a lot of employment, and the whole thing will turn around. Before you know it, if you put in place proper monetary control, you'll be able to pay back whatever you borrow.
Let's come back here. The fuel subsidy was partially removed, so to speak, and one would have thought that, okay, having removed the fuel subsidy partially, the effect of it is what we're seeing now, 12.6% of increase in inflation. Now, the CBN is targeting a one-digit figure, but we have now 12.6. If we're doing this, remove this partially, but then we're still going at borrowing. We've heard about, it's in the papers, Nigeria is in China seeking $3 billion for infrastructural development, as the case may be. Should that be what we're looking at right now?
Yes.
The President on the other hand was before the Senate seeking for an approval to go to over $1 trillion.
No, I will answer you by what you just said. You just talked about infrastructural development. And if you look at our budget, there's no way our budget size can take on those large infrastructural development you're talking about now. If you're actually thinking about sustainability, and you have seen that for you to take advantage of this God-given wealth that is hidden and people have misused. That's where I call it. They've misused over the time. That's what led to the corruption. That's what led to all this kind of fighting. So that is why you need to go out looking for large capital from somewhere that can enable you carry out development.
But let me ask a question here, based on an analogy someone gave.
Right.
If you have a thief coming to steal from your house, you know a thief is coming.
Yeah.
Do you lock up the shop and chase after the thief, or fix your shop before you go after the thief?
When you say you need to equally fix your shop. If you go after the sheep, there are two scenarios. If you first know a thief is coming and you are strategic, you don't have to lock your shop. You go straight and block the thief. You will have put in place how do you make sure the thief doesn't even get here at all. The fact that it's able to get to you shows that you were
prepared.
Yeah, you were not prepared. So what I'm talking about strategic planning. I don't know. I believe the team of Kunjo Iweala and that should be allowed to do their job. What I'm saying in essence is that having looked at the environment, people have seen that we have God-given resources here. And over the years, it's been wrongly managed. Let me give you an example. If you pay real tax in this country, the country will be better managed than what we are now. Because people don't pay tax, they just believe in this God-given thing, they steal it and share it, and then they start fighting over it. So that's actually one of the... But I believe tax payment is a major way to make people accountable, because you and I would not allow somebody who is taking for your money to run your money the way it is. But because crude oil is just there, people don't care. They don't see it as everybody's property. And so somebody who was a poor man yesterday goes into the government, before you know it, is driving all kind of cars, and nobody cares.
Well, the thing is, the CBN, we understand that before now they were targeting a single-digit inflation rate.
Sure.
The feasibility is a different kettle of fish entirely. But the way they were going about that fuel subsidy removal and all of those, did you, for instance, think that we were going to even remain in a single-digit inflation rate?
We're looking at the future, so those were estimates, and
even from the estimates.
Yes, we were looking at the future, but as the things start to unfold, they will put in some controls measure here and there. You can see CBN, they come up with monetary policies every month. When they see it going, they will come up with another policy to regulate, to make sure it doesn't go too far from it. Even with what you just said now, in no time they will also have to look at the economy. What do we do to make sure the interest? But the main thing is that we all know the driver of this interest rate is because of what happened in the subsidy. And that's why I said I'm even looking at, judging from Nigerian experience, I see it as even a modest thing, because one should have expected to be more than what we just describing. But I still believe that those things are just normal Nigerian ways of reacting to things. But that's why I give an example of a good business like ShopRite. If you go in there, I was amazed with one Nigerian woman.
But even at that, the cost of doing business index in Nigeria is still very, very high. I mean, out of 183 countries, if I can see this, it says 2011 was still ranked at 133. Yes. And then look at that, there was no change whatsoever in terms of getting electricity, registering properly. We're ranked 176 and 180 in that order.
I appreciate
that.
So
it's still nosediving. Doing business for the average person is getting tougher.
I agree, but I don't know why I'm a believer of this economy. Why I'm saying so is that the only thing I believe is that if you can block all this corruption here and there,
that's a big if.
That's a big if. I agree. If you can block it and you are able to challenge, that's why I started by saying the major source of corruption is this crude thing. People just go mad because you're sharing money, and they think of how do I make my money. If you take an example, somebody you employ into your office gets in there, he thinks that you must have stolen your money when you start a business. They want to think how to rip you off. Those are things that happen in this country. But what I'm saying, to answer your question straight, it shows that you asked about what? Let me get you right again.
I was talking about the indices.
Yes.
The cost of doing business. The projections that had always given us. There are those who suggest that they just band the figures. They're not actually realistic. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the purchasing power of the average person.
No, I wouldn't say. You see, they compute the figure based on what is see. They do some market survey to gather a lot of information before they do whatever they do. But I think the thing we must look at here and take into consideration is that the electricity thing we're talking about cannot just be changed overnight. I see a lot of effort. We have seen a lot of money they are spending on all these IPC, which is coming up soon. We hope that by the time they all come on string, it will further bring down the whole cost of doing business. We also see that even the road is a major factor, because most of this, even the fuel thing we're talking about now, they have been trucked on the road, and they also mess up the road. So the road, you think you're building a road, and you don't build it as strong as what you find abroad, and then you also add more by allowing this truck to ply the road, and it mess up the road. So if these roads, if they are rail system that actually help us carry the heavy haulage, and then the roads are now left for very light thing to move, and they are even made stronger, you can see that it becomes...
And that's another big if.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You're a strong believer in the Nigerian economy.
I believe in this economy.
Do you believe that small and medium businesses can help move this economy up?
That's why I believe in this economy. That's my major terrain. Okay. That's where I've done a lot of research and we've worked for a long time.
Based on that. Okay. Now, the current rate, 12.6.
Yeah.
That's based on the fact that subsidy was removed, partially removed on PMS. Now, expectedly, there's likely to be an increase in tariffs of electricity tariffs by a range of 25 to 88%.
Yeah.
What impact would that have on this economy, and how much do you think that will impact on those small businesses that are supposed to drive this economy?
Beautiful. First, you look at the overriding policy of government. A lot of people go into business without doing what we call business planning. They just dabble into business, and before they know it, they get their fingers burnt. When I say I'm a believer of this economy, I believe SME is the engine of growth. And it's one sector that has been greatly undermined. And if you look at that sector, if they are able to move out very well, it will further create a lot of employment and jobs to the economy. Take, for example, if a business, I've said one of these things here that a lot of people in this country, it's financial illiteracy. You don't go into a business you don't know anything about. So I believe if those small business you are talking about, if they want to succeed, and those who have succeeded are those who really went into the process of planning. And then if you plan, you will see that yes, you have a niche market, and you go straight to that market, and you can be sure that, like I said, the population is good. You will have people who are income bracket. There are a lot of people. If you target a certain sector of the economy, you see a win-win for you. So for those who just dabble into businesses and just run like a run-of-the-mill thing, gone are the days where you run business like that.
But let me pop
the whole world is a global village, and capital move to where it's needed. But the capital will not stay just somewhere.
It's a cow. It also flees when it's threatened.
Yeah, when it's threatened. I agree.
But the thing also is that even in doing that business plan, because it's one thing to do your business plan, it's another thing to get a genuine business plan.
Oh, right.
Because you have people who give you business plan, and if you run with that business plan,
I agree with you, Shemali. That's why I said it's financial illiteracy. Business plan is not a thing somebody sit down to write for you. No, you must be a part of that business plan. We do it. Our model is very simple, is structured on we working with you, and so by the time we'll now be able to tap your skill and know where you are good at.
The example my colleagues highlighted, for instance, because this CPI index 12.6% also affects cost of transportation.
Right.
Now for the SMEs, you have to factor that in, and so that makes it a lot more difficult for you. And so it's still part of the problem.
No, the point I'm saying, if you have done a proper plan, a business plan, you will know even with that. That's what the point I'm trying to make here, which I was trying to the analogy is that there are a lot of business you can do where and do a lot and make a lot of kill, because this economy is virgin, and so people you can go to the right area and you make your kill. Those things will be absorbed by the whole cost. Those costs are costs which is bound to happen in this country, because for now those infrastructure are not there. So, but if you got going to business because you believe what is done in England, everything is cheap, and then you are bound to hit a rock. So what I'm saying is that in the course of that, they will be able to factor in those things you are talking about now, and you'll be able to identify where do I play here that will give me the highest contribution, the highest niche. And by the time you are able to hit the niche, then you will have gotten enough turnover.
In seeking that highest or large turnover, it's the consumers that pay for it.
No, it's not the consumer. It's how you are able to structure your deal. When I mean consumer now, there are things you require to do in this country that you need it as a matter of necessity. You know what I'm saying? And so you're ready to pay the price again. And you also pay the price, also know the benefit you're going to make. It's a chain thing. And by the time you're able to pick on that segment of the market, your cost will just be.
But again,
in
that same chain.
Yeah.
Because by the time you come up with your plan, you need financing. And if the inflation rate keeps going from 12.6, from 10.3 to 12.6, who knows what it will be the next time. By the time you go to get those access to credit again, it's a major challenge. And
so I will tell you, that's part of the planning. I will tell you in this country, the source of finance, that's why people talk about source of financing, because of poor planning. If you have a business that gives you high return, people are ready to finance it. I've always said it from the plans we've done. This country is where you have a high return investment. You don't get this kind of return you get here in America or England. The return on investment here. Let me put it clearly. If you have the right thing, the return you get here is far more than what it. When we're doing the refinery study, we found out to set up a refinery here, you make a lot of kill. So nobody say you must sell my refinery here, must sell at whatever price. I can also do a refinery and make my money well. But if you want to pay a subsidy, then you pay me the subsidy. So what I'm saying in essence, people don't still understand the mechanics of this thing, and so they keep talking about the time where government pay for everything is over. And so we should be prepared to equally think of how to do business in a more economic way, and why government provide sustainable thing to enables remain okay. Yes.
Do you still see inflation rates going up? Because I mean, here we are talking about 12.6%. What it simply means is that the buying power of the average consumer is reducing by the minute. Do you still see it going up, especially in terms of uncertainty of what exactly is going to happen in that particular sector? There's still talks of we might remove subsidy completely, or it's just in the meantime. And then, it's not very certain what's going to happen in the petroleum downstream as it is, and how that is going to affect the price of petrol, which in turn will affect the buying power, the purchasing power of the average consumer.
Yes, when I started, I gave an analogy of the telecom industry. I said when it started, you saw the rate of buying, even to buy a SIM card then was quite something else. But now you can buy a SIM for 200 naira and then you're part of business. What I'm saying, if you create competition and you create a lot of people to come in here to do a refinery, this thing you are even talking about price of petrol will even fall lower than what it is now. That is one way.
But before we get there.
Yeah, before we get there, for now, like I said earlier on, the CBN have a role to make sure they monitor inflation and all those stuff. Haven't we seen the president take? They also look at policies that can be put in place to make sure this is actually gauged within the level. But I also foresee, to answer your question straight, that I don't see it going more than this. Because if the government sees it, they will find a way to make sure it comes
Even
down.
though this is partial removal?
Partial removal.
Because by the time they implement the whole policy...
I think before they do the whole policy, they will start their policy or whatever.
The controversial one.
The controversial.
No more politics.
No, it was a hard pill. They saw the way it was. But I think, like I said, if I was to advise, one would have said that if you look at the big picture, you know what is there for you, you know what you stand to gain. You also prepare yourself so that you take a journey chain or whatever, a journey analysis. You don't just jump into it, you have a program way of getting there. So if they had actually identified the big thing ahead of it, they would need to actually put in place how do you navigate to that level so that gradually you're going to get
okay,
that means some of those palliatives would have been put in place, like those buses, the train and all those stuff can be done, and we see it working, and then we can as well.
So in spite of all the uncertainty, you still think that it's going to remain stable at about 12.6, 13%?
I see around that, because I believe government will move to see that, to see whatever they can do to
what we always say is that the CBN will try to tighten monetary policy, which means that interest rates might go up just a little, or maybe, by some basis points. If that happens, what it also means is that it's going to be a little more difficult to obtain loans because,
and to pay back.
Exactly, and to pay back, because interest rates will just keep climbing.
So financing businesses.
When you say payback, that's why I'm happy. The people just take money if they don't want to pay back in this country. If you really have good business plan, finance. There are people who come to you straight to just take money without the intention to pay. So, but it's they are all around.
So they must see that business plan. You must contain your plan.
If you have a plan that you can see through those things, and there's a program of payment, and we are seeing that you have the right structure, you have a strategy, the structure and system to run through that plan, then definitely accept the guy has a dubious intention.
What do you think, or in your opinion, is Nigeria's fiscal stance based on this? For instance, the Naira has dropped about 0.8% against the dollar, and the CBN is likely to, based on the pressure, likely to increase its benchmark interest rates to about 8.75. That's likely. I'm not saying that's what it is. But so what do you think is Nigeria's fiscal stance?
Where's the fiscal stance? Can you
in terms of the economy, rates, the different rates that we're working with, the interest rates, the lending rates, and all that?
Yeah, like I said, those who formulate those rates don't just come by they have some basic statistical analysis they carry out, and CBN, they are their role to regulate, to make sure we go in line with what the government wants to achieve. I see like I said, those who are there now seeing the bright hope for this country and trying to put in place a stable thing that will make us live for tomorrow, rather than you continue the present stand where we take and consume without even living for whatever. So I think the whole thing is, like I said earlier on, there's need for us to, the business economy talked about where you have a comparative advantage. And if you look at this country, we have a very competitive advantage from the crude.
Okay,
why don't we make the...
As at July of last year, the inflation rate was 9.4%.
Yes.
As at December, it was 10.2%.
Yes, now it's about...
And now it's 12.6%.
Yes.
If we go back a little, in 2007, it was about as low as 5% in 2007. Mm. Now, one would think that, seeing that as at July, we're at 9%, we will be looking at how to keep it at that rate. But we seem to be going forward. I said earlier that with the likelihood that there's going to be an increase in electricity tariffs, that inflation rate might be going up again.
Yeah.
What should we be looking for, especially to the small and medium?
Yeah, I agree. Fear is small and medium scale, which you kept talking about. But like I kept saying, if the interest rate is going up at the way we are saying it now, maybe there have been some aberration in the past. I think the need is for us to readjust. And that's why I give you now.
When we say readjust, who is readjust here? Because government spending appears to have increased.
Yeah, because we kept saying that the government budget is over bloated. I mean, we said most of those things, they need to cut down some of those costs. And they need to cut it down and further increase their revenue. And so in doing so, they will have to think, okay, how do we now, like if you cut it down, there are some of these things that will actually be affected by, you need to make more money to be able to absorb it. Like earlier on, I talked about taxation. That's the major tool that government can use to further make more money. If you have more money coming from that sector, plus what you're going to get from all this, it will further help to cushion the subsidy we are looking at. I'm an advocate of subsidy in area where it's needed.
Like condition precedence must
thank
be.
You. Like this aspect you talk about, like this PSC and whatever. The PSC they call it now.
Yeah, I think
yes.
PSC.
Yes. That aspect, subsidy in that area gets to the poor. You know what I mean? Those who really need it get a subsidy because you try to give electricity to everybody and you subsidize that. That can be looked at. And government can say, let's see how we can make it easy. But not fair where the big men that have the SUV consume more of those things and you are subsidizing those guys who already have all the money, who don't even pay tax in this economy. Why don't you go to those people who are really poor, who need this money and give them subsidy in that aspect? That's the aspect I really look at.